We start with the topic of cyber disaster. Already जो हम लोगों ने last class में discuss किया था, तो we could continuity from the same point. So there are unwelcome attempts to seed, what we say, steal, expose, alter, disable, or destroy information through unauthorized access to the computer systems. Now, the intruder or the hacker can be anyone. Maybe he can be a person within your own organizations, or he can be a person outside the organization. And when we always say when the seed attack is launched by a person inside the organization, it's called the active attack. And when the somebody outside the organization is stealing or exposing or disabling or destroying the data, we say it's a passive attacks, or what we say external attacks within the organization. Now, what we can do to prevent or thwart these attacks, we'll discuss as we move ahead in the presentation. So when the organizations are bombarded with a series of such attacks in quick succession by our hackers, they tend to suffer cyber outages, resulting in the occurrence of a cyber disaster. So we are not talking of single attack, we are talking of group of attacks. Many attacks happening together simultaneously from multiple locations, from a different kind of network, and a group of attackers collaborate with each other, something called the collaborative attacks. Then only we start using the word as a cyber disaster, because many attackers, many hackers, many intruders, they have planned their action and they have collaborated with each other, and then they have launched the attack to destroy, damage, disable, expose, or alter the data of the organization, a sensitive data. Now, what can be a sensitive data? For example, the customer's account information in the bank, or the insurance policy holders data in the insurance policy companies, or it could be the normal employees data, your financial data, your salaries which you get from the account department of your company. It could be any of those data which is sensitive to that particular organization. And how do we define the word cyber disaster? The inability of the organization to recover back after having struck by a cyber attack. So many number of attacks happening together, and its failure to restore the IT operation with the minimum or no loss of the valuable customer data. Because it is expected from every organization that attacks are bound to happen, that is for sure. But how quickly you are able to recover back the data, something what we call ASAP, ASAP, as soon as possible. And it should not be the other ASAP, what we call as slow as possible, because it should be quick recovery, should be as fast as possible. It is something when I'm driving on the road, I fall down, how quickly I'm able to recover back without minimum loss to my own life or without suffering any injury. So that recovery time has to be least. Otherwise, the loss of data will be immense. And in spite of the adoption of all the best preventive measures as suggested by the CISO of an organization, then the organization is said to have suffered a cyber disaster. So sometimes even if you've taken the best of the practices, you've taken best of the security measure, still the attack happens. So we can talk about the active attacks and passive attack. That includes the attacks to confidentiality, integrity, and the availability of the data. Something what we have discussed earlier also. Many kind of attack like denial of service, distributed denial of service, birthday attack, replay attack, Byzantine attack. Many kind of attacks there are there. So if they can happen together or one by one in quick succession. Now there's something called MTTD, what we say mean time to detect a attack. It's the average time it takes a DevOps team to detect a problem. Now that problem can be a software bug or a hardware failure. Now software bug is basically the inability or the failure of that software testing team, that they could not detect the bug at the time of the software development lifecycle. Now, we all know that there are multiple models that are being followed in software engineering, like spiral model is there, rapid application development model is there, iterative model is there. So all these models are, it is expected that the software testing team will make sure that if at all any software bug is there, it should have been detected right at the development point, right within the company itself. No undetected software bug should reach to the client side. But if the company has failed in its mission, the software testing team has not worked to the best of its ability, then the attacks are bound to happen. The software hackers will exploit that vulnerability in the code and launch the attack. And another could be the hardware failure. Again, it is beyond our own scope. Hardware failure could be the malfunctioning of device, or the failure of the device to work properly, or the breakage, or the maybe any kind of the voltage failure has happened in the device, uh, power functioning. So we use the word MTD, mean time, how much time the company takes to react to a given situation. That should be as low as possible. Something also called a latency or delay. The more the delay, more the latency, then the organization is bound to suffer more loss of the data. So this was a sort of cyber attack life cycle. A quick view of it. Something what we call the first step is reconnaissance. Second is weaponization. Third is delivery. Fourth is exploitation. Fifth is installation. Sixth is command and control. And seventh is action on objective. This again, I think we have already discussed, but let's take a quick review because almost 2 to 3 weeks have gone by since the last class took place. So first step is scanning the environment. Properly scan the environment to detect that are there any vulnerabilities in your software or hardware part. Second is weaponization, means pairing the malicious code with the exploit to create a weapon, something what we call as a piece of a malware. Malware we already discussed, a software or an app which get downloaded onto your machine with the primary objective to steal the data, change the data, modify data, corrupt data, expose the data, any kind of the intention of the hacker or the attacker. Third is the delivery. How will the attacker deliver the information? So transmission of that weapon or malware to target. So if I am a hacker, I will identify who my target is, and then I will reach up to him, or that is through his machine, and try to install that particular malware on his machine. Maybe using a email or using a website or using any of the USB drive as far as possible. Then once delivered, the weapon or malware code is triggered upon an action. So I will wait for the user to perform certain action. For example, if I've written a code that, let's say, well, when the malware trigger, moment he opens the web browser on his machine. So moment he opens the web browser on his machine, immediately the malware will get triggered. Now the code which I have written, now let's say that could be sample code could be go and destroy all the system files on the target machine. So immediately the code will trigger up and will destroy all the system related files. Or I have written the code that when the user opens the web browser, go and kill or go and garbage collect all the Java files and the .class files. So immediately that code will get trigger up. It will immediately search wherever all the Java files are there, means the file with the .name extension as star.java or star.class, they will get cleaned up. Or if I've written the code in the malware that go and destroy or go and clean up all the Python files, that means file with the .py extension. So that code will trigger and will go and delete all that particular file. Fifth step is the installation. The weapon installs malware on the system. Successfully, it has been done. So malware is now ready to fire on the action performed by the user. Then the command and control, a command channel for remote manipulation of the victim. Now, either you can do it right there on the client machine, front end up front, or you can set it the remote location and using certain software like accessing the remote desktop of the client, or using a team viewer, or any other kind of the software that give you the access to remotely access the client machine. Then you can launch the command in the control sitting at the client location. Then what are the actions on objective? With hands-on access, the attacker and achieve their objective. So I assess the situation. If I'm an intruder or a hacker, at the point number 7, I check whether I was successful or not in damaging the data, in launching the attack on the client's machine or not. So that is will be my ultimate success of my cyber attack on the target machine. So these are the 7 stages of any cyber attack. Now these are academically ideal 7 stages. But I don't need to follow everything step by step. If I'm an intruder or a hacker, I can merge step 3 and 4 together. Or I can merge step 3, 4, and 5 together. And I can launch the cyber attack only in 4 steps. So academically, theoretically, an idealistic scenario says perform all these things one by one by one, so that your impact of the attack is disastrous. You are able to achieve your objective of destroying customers' data. However, it is up to me as an attacker or a hacker. I can merge 2 or 3 steps together. For example, I can mix delivery, exploitation, and installation all in one step. That is step number 3, 4, and 5. and then I can easily cut down the time required to launch the attack.
So in the
Yeah.
if you say that serial number 6, it says that command and control, wherein we have to do the entire process in a remote way.